What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/TalesFromRetail. Alright, this story's called The Angry Lady and the Check, the First Attempt. This may end up being a saga of several stories, as honestly, I had no end of problems with this same lady over the course of a year. It ended rather spectacularly, but I don't want to spoil things. Okay, some background. At the time this story takes place, I was a young assistant manager of a clothing store, in training to take over the store from the existing manager who was moving on to another store that was set to open soon. During my training, it was made clear to me that we could only accept checks, paper checks, that should give you an idea of when this took place, that were drawn on a bank located in our state. We were forbidden from accepting starter checks, checks where you had to write in the name and address, as well as checks drawn on banks that were out of state, even if that bank also had branches in our state. Now, the first two were down to simple fraud, as there was, at the time, a thing where people would deposit the minimum to open an account, get the starter or write-in checks, and go on a spending spree. It'd take 3 or 4 days for the fraud to be found out, and by then, the person was long gone. The last one, the out-of-state thing though, well, that one was harder to explain. See, at the time, the state I was in had this law on the books that basically stated that if a person from out of state bounced a check, then that person would be charged with felony fraud charges, even if it was the first time or just a simple mistake. Furthermore, any employee who accepted an out-of-state check, regardless of how long they worked for the company, would be fired on the spot. So on to the story. It's getting close to Christmas and business is booming, even for our small store. It's apparent we're going to make well above what we had been projected of making in sales based on past sales. I'm doing my thing in the men's department, working on selling a suit to a gentleman, when a call comes over the PA. Management to women's apparel for customer assistance. Okay, that's rare. Usually meant some customer was pissed at a cashier for something, but truth be known, that rarely happened. Usually the customer just came to track down any available manager. I pass my sale off to the clerk and head over in the direction of women's apparel. Dot, not her name, the women's department manager, is standing at the register with this lady who I'll call Princess due to how she was acting. Dot says something to the lady, whose face is screwed up like she took a massive bite out of a salted lemon, then heads my way. Mr. Fox, we have something of a problem here, Dot says. Gee, you think? I find myself thinking as Dot explains. The lady in question had been shopping for Christmas gifts for her family and had pulled together close to $2,000 worth of various kinds of clothing, shoes, and cologne perfume items. What's more, she had asked to pay with a check. Ah, so you need me to verify it due to the amount? I asked. That was another weird little thing with the store. Checks over $200 had to have management verification or approval to be used. It was more of a formality than anything, and we tended to just check ID and then initial them before heading back to whatever we were doing. No. Well, yes, but no. There's a problem, Dot says and hands me the check. I glance down and see it's drawn on a Florida bank, and inhale sharply. I glance back at the lady who's giving me looks that could kill, and back to Dot. So what do we do? Dot asks. I shrug and tell her that I'll handle things, and approach the lady who gives me one look of pure distaste before crossing her arms expectantly. Well, Princess asks and then points, is my money not good enough for you? It takes everything in my body not to just say no and walk away. Well, there's a problem with the check, I say politely as I possibly can. What do you mean there's a problem? Princess practically yells. Well, I hate to say this, but we can't accept this form of payment from you. I start. I don't finish it though, as Princess yells. Why the hell not? She then starts interrupting me every time I try to explain, before I get a good bit exasperated with her and say, would you please just listen to me for a moment? I'm trying to explain the issue to you. It's not just a company policy. This is based on state law. She looks ready to start in on another rant, and I take that pause as she draws in another breath to quickly explain. State law says that if I accept this and it fails to go through, regardless if it's just a communication error, your bank's closed the day they call for payment, or God forbid, it bounces, then a felony warrant for interstate fraud will be taken out on you. you, and you will be arrested and charged. The penalty for that being a fine of about $50,000 and a minimum of 5 years in state prison. Well, my money's good, she spits at me, figuratively, not literally. Be that as it may, I can't accept this, I say, standing my ground. Well, Wally World does, she retorts. They're able to instantly draw from the bank account. We don't have that system here. It doesn't hurt that they have stores in your home state, and we do not. Do you have any other method of paying? I ask, through mildly clenched teeth, as she's getting on my nerves at this point. Princess just points at the check. That's it, so either take it or I'll take my business elsewhere. I'm done with her at this point and turn to Dot. Go ahead and put all that in the back. We'll put it back on the shelves in the morning, I say, and hand her the check back. From the shocked look on her face, it's apparent she didn't expect me to actually stand my ground. Dot proceeds to grab up the items, doing as I instructed, while I hand Princess her check back. She just stands there, looking like a fish out of water for a bit, and then heads outside. I figure she's leaving. I was wrong. Probably 20 minutes pass when in comes a couple of police officers. They head over to speak with Dot, who calls management back to her department. As I approach, I see that Princess is there, along with the officers. One of them approaches me and says that Princess had called them to report that I had stolen purchases she had made, taking them and putting them in the back after she had already paid for them. The officers wanted my side of the story, which I gave, within earshot of Princess. She ended up shooting herself in the foot about halfway through the officer talking to me as I was explaining the problem to him by screaming, "Tell him that he has to take my check! I want my purchases!" The officer promptly turns on her and asks her to repeat that, and she does, before he says, "I thought you said you'd already bought them." She blinks, realizing her mistake, but the damage is done. The cops are simply done with her. They instruct her to leave, making it very clear that everything I had previously said about the check was true, if oversimplified. She, however, refuses to leave, doubling down on the idea that she would force us to take her check. At this point, it's close to closing. I've got work to do, and this lady is giving me a pounding headache. I want her out of the store, pure and simple, so I opt to use one more thing from my arsenal. I turn to the officer and say, I don't want her in the store, and I don't want her ever coming back. The officer nods, understanding the wording here, and tells Princess in no uncertain terms that she's now trespassed from the store, and if she ever sets foot in again, she can and will be arrested. Princess eventually does leave, and the saga of dealing with her ends. For about 6 months. It was a nice quiet time, right up to the point that her dour face darkened my store's doors. Wow, riveting tale. I guess you could say she needs to check herself. Oh, this story's called Customer Threatens to Sue Me Because He Decided to Jump a Turnstile. So heads up, I'm on mobile, so sorry for any misspelling and formatting issues. Quick backstory. So when I was just out of high school, I worked in a small liquor store at a high-risk area. Other than the pay, the job was pretty good, and the manager loved me, took my side in basically anything because I was usually right, and he had a policy that if customers are being a problem, boot them. Heyo, so it's a cold winter's night, and we're about to lock up. I'm mopping the floors while my coworker is closing out her till, and here they come. Our cast is me, coworker, and these two valued customers. Customer 1, Customer 2. As I'm putting my mop away, coworker tells me I should come watch this on the security camera. There's 2 guys running at the store, full sprint, trying to make it before we lock up in 5 minutes. My rule is simple. If you get in before I lock the doors, I'll serve you. But if you take longer than 10 minutes after close, I'll ask you to leave with no purchase because it's after 1 a.m. and I want to go get some sleep. So customer 1 comes barreling into the store, and instead of walking in like a normal person, he decides to try and jump the turnstile at the entrance to stop shoplifters from trying to run out the front door. And lo and behold, as he runs past the wet floor sign directly in front of the turnstiles, he slips and only makes it halfway and collides directly with the arm of the turnstile, tip to tip. His buddy helps pick him up, laughing at him, and they start browsing. Coworker goes outside and locks the doors and finishes up closing until my till is the only thing left to do. Lo and behold, their 10 minutes are up and they haven't made a single choice yet. I pipe up, "Hey, you guys, the store closed 10 minutes ago. I need you to pick what you want now or leave." Well, customer 1 takes offense to me telling him that he has to leave the closed store and replies, "You know I got hurt on your property, so I can take however long I'd like, and you should be giving me everything if I want for at least half off, if not free, unless you want me to sue you." Him and customer 2 start laughing and walking around and joking about what they should help themselves to. Coworker looks at them like they are idiots and tells them they can get the hell out of the store right now or she will call the police and have them removed. Well, once again, customers 1 and 2 don't like being told what to do and walk up to the counter snickering and ask how we would like going to court. I look at them, tired, and tell them that right now they have 2 choices. 1, they buy something and leave now, or we call the police. Coworker already has the phone all ready to go, and that we don't care if they sue us because we don't own the store and his injury was self-inflicted. He ignored the wet floor sign and tried to jump the turnstile when he could just walk through. "Well, can I at least get a discount?" Customer 2 at this point realizes that we are pissed as he grabs the closest 12-pack and says, "Okay, we'll get this and leave." So here we are 20 to 30 minutes after closing and finally get to go home. Those 2 never did bother to come back or sue us, but I still made sure my manager got all the footage ready just in case. What buffoons! Who did they think they were, jumping a turnstile? This story's called A Random Act of Kindness in a Halloween Store. Happy Halloween, Redditors! Ooga booga booga! In this festive time of candy and horror delights, I thought back on my first and last time working at a Halloween store as a side job for my main job in the same shopping plaza. I say the last time because of the lousy manager who was 22 but acted 16, and the constant snatch and run thievery that happened almost daily. Great experience, and I had fun getting into character, being an active cosplayer, but I'll never do it again. No, 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 God no. However, the job had its perks, and I enjoyed assisting people look for costumes and often work the fitting room. What a perv. Kidding. I loved helping kids. Okay, it writes itself, guys. Sorry. I loved helping kids with their costumes if something didn't fit right or something was backwards before they checked out the mirror and got feedback from their parents. I didn't expect to love that part of the job so much since I was never very good with kids. But I remembered how much I loved the holiday at that age. They were so cute, and my heart nearly exploded helping this little girl tie a ninja costume because it was her first time trick-or-treating. Anyway, I finished my 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift at my retail job and jogged across the parking lot to the Halloween store, changed into the company shirt, and got to work. I was asked to work the fitting station and help this woman with her grandkids. While the kids changed, I chatted with the grandma. She asked me how I liked working there. I was honest and said it was fun and how I liked helping the kids the most. My stomach had been growling since before I started my shift. I only had a bagel all day, and the lady heard it. She said she hoped I had a break soon so I could eat. I told her since I worked part-time at my main job and immediately came here part-time, I wouldn't be able to eat until my shift ended around 6 p.m. But I did have a payday bar I was nibbling on and off. Her grandkids loved their costumes. I think the boy was Link from one of the Zelda games, and the girl was a zombie cheerleader. And the grandma said she'd get the costumes. She asked where the makeup and face paint was, and I showed her. It was slow in the store, so I offered to put the costumes back in the packages before they checked them out. While I did that, the grandma handed me a $20 bill. I looked at her when she said, "Get yourself some food, baby. You're a very sweet girl." Of course, I politely refused and told her we didn't do tips at this store. She winked and told me, "It's not a tip. I'm just paying something for your lunch. I was always a giving person growing up. Gave my snacks to friends, gave money if I had little to spare, gave food to my coworkers when I cooked and baked something at home. For me, to be given something out of the goodness of someone else's heart, that almost never happened to me. So I was really taken aback. I wanted to cry and thank the grandma for her kindness. My main paycheck just barely covered my bills, leaving me with just enough for Uber fare to get to work and home, and a little extra for food. But my last paycheck was lighter than usual, worked 15 hours instead of my usual 18 to 22, so I didn't have much. My faith in humanity was strengthened that day. Little acts of kindness, people. Never stop showing them. You never know how someone's day is going. Your little act of kindness might be the best part of someone's otherwise crappy day. Have a safe and fun Halloween. Focus more on sharing, not scaring. Wow, I wish I read this a little while ago, before Halloween. Or at least not like 2 weeks after it, almost. Whoops! Anyway, that's a lovely story. Very sweet of the grandma. Very cool, OP. That sounds like a really cool job to have had. And I hope you have more money now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.